Hello, my name is Wendy Myers. Welcome to the Myers Detox podcast. You can check out my work at myersdetox.com. Today we have my friend Jodi Cohen on the show again. She's been on a time or two, and we're going to be talking about the vagus nerve and how to stimulate your vagus nerve to facilitate and aid detoxification. One of the biggest impediments to detox is being in a sympathetic dominant fight or flight stressed out state. You have to be in the parasympathetic nervous system, and stimulating your vagus nerve can get you into that parasympathetic mode where you're resting and relaxing and digesting and detoxing. Very, very important. So we got to use every, trick we can in the books to get us into parasympathetic mode. We have a lot of stressors acting on us today, like nutritional stress, emotional stress, EMFs or electromagnetic fields. There's just a lot of things working against us today in our modern environment. And what you're going to learn today is we'll talk about the signs that your vagus nerve is not functioning optimally, how the vagus nerve is involved in detoxification, and how toxins and dental infections can prevent proper functioning of the vagus nerve. This is really interesting. And why you must get into parasympathetic mode to heal and detox, just to heal in general, and the best ways to stimulate the vagus nerve, including the top 2 essential oils. I know you guys listening to this show are looking to detox your body and are wondering what your levels of toxins are, for you guys who've never done any testing before. I created a quiz called heavymetalsquiz.com that will help you do just that. You take this quiz and afterwards you get your results that tell you, based on your lifestyle habits, if you have low, medium, or high toxin levels. And then you get a free video series that tell you what to do next. What's the next step? Where do you get started on your detox journey and how to avoid common detox mistakes? Just a lot of really good videos after you take the quiz. So go check it out, take it yourself at heavymetalsquiz.com. Our guest today, Jodi Sternoff Cohen, is a best-selling author, award-winning journalist, functional practitioner, and founder of Vibrant Blue Oils, where she has combined her training in nutritional therapy and aromatherapy to create unique proprietary blends of organic and wild-crafted essential oils. She's helped over 50,000 clients heal from brain-related challenges, including anxiety, insomnia, and autoimmunity. And for the past 10 years, she's lectured at wellness centers, conferences, and corporations on brain health, essential oils, stress, and detoxification. She's been seen in the New York Times, Wellness Mama, Elephant Journal, and numerous publications. Her website, vibrantblueoils.com, is visited by over 300,000 natural health seekers every year, and she has rapidly become a top resource for essential oils education on the internet today. Go check out her site at vibrantblueoils.com. Jodi, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk vagus nerve.
Yes. Yeah. And so the vagus nerve is interesting. It's not something that I've talked about on the show before. And a lot of people may not know what it is or what it does or how important it is, or they're stimulating already without even knowing it and enjoying all the benefits. So what is the vagus nerve? How do we start?
The vagus nerve is your longest nerve in your body. It's cranial nerve number 10, and it is actually the most important thing to heal. You were just saying before we started recording that if you can't get somebody into what's known as the parasympathetic state, which is where all healing occurs, it's almost like trying to bike up a hill and not downshifting in gears. It controls the nervous system, or part of the nervous system that toggles between your survival state, which is called your sympathetic fight or flight state, that kind of kicks in when you think you might die, and all your resources need to be focused on keeping you alive. All your blood rushes to your arms and legs so you can flee. You hyper-focus, and all things that aren't critical to your survival in that moment, like digestion, detoxification, immunity, inflammation kind of shut down. And the idea is danger presents itself, you mobilize all of your resources, you survive, and then you fall back into the state where you can repair. And that's called your parasympathetic state. And it's your vagus nerve that helps you shift between those gears. And what unfortunately happens is that some people get stuck in that stress state, and so they never shift into that state where they can actually lose weight or, not feel anxious or, focus and concentrate and have all of their energy.
Yeah, and that's a huge, huge problem. I mean, so many people today, they're stuck in their sympathetic nervous system where they're tired, yes, they're exhausted, but their brains are going, or they're like their foot's on the gas pedal and they can't relax.
Yes.
And they're just kind of stuck there. And that's kind of why a lot of people are sick. I mean, we have this super fast-paced modern lifestyle, and people they just don't know how to relax. They don't know, maybe one, they don't realize that they're in this stress state.
Exactly.
And they don't know how to relax. They know they're supposed to relax, but they don't know how to switch gears.
Well, and it's also those people that are doing everything right. They're intermittent fasting, they're eating keto, they're doing yoga, they're getting the right sleep, and they're still not getting the results they want. They're like, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing? I think this is the missing link. If you're not in the right gear to actually lose the weight and heal, it's going to be really hard to make it happen. And what's great is that between the two of us, we have all these tools to help people switch that gear, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the other things that I've noticed is it's not just that you're responding to a physical stress, and physical stress can even be if you're not breaking down your proteins. If your stomach isn't releasing hydrochloric acid, and you're not chewing your food properly, then those proteins can be a big flag for your immune system. And your immune system can start to totally overreact and respond to things that aren't even threats. Like the people that are on the super limited diet and they keep having to take foods out of their diet because they keep responding to more and more foods. That's often when you're not breaking down your protein, your immune system starts to kind of respond to everything, or chemicals. You can't walk through the mall and walk by that candle store without reacting to the smells, or all the people that are trying to spray perfume on you when you walk by. That's really an indication that you're stuck in that like sympathetic gear and you need to switch into parasympathetic.
And what are some of the symptoms? You talked about a couple. What are some of the symptoms that you're stuck in sympathetic dominance, or that maybe your vagus nerve isn't working properly, or what have you?
Common symptoms of being stuck in sympathetic overdrive are if you have a really dry mouth, and you can't, like if it's hard for you to swallow supplements, or you're thirsty all the time, or if you really can't digest meat. In the kids that are avoiding the meat, it's because they're not breaking it down and digesting it. And just to back up a little bit, what happens is the vagus nerve stimulates your parasympathetic response and really turns on digestion. And so digestion starts with the brain, with the vagus nerve signaling first the mouth to release saliva, which is where you help to break down some of those enzymes. And then it's the stomach releasing hydrochloric acid. So for example, if this isn't turning on, you'll feel acid reflux or GERD. It's the pancreas releasing enzymes so that you're able to break down your meat. So it's not like you eat meat and you feel like you have a brick in your stomach. It's your gallbladder releasing bile. And this is really critical. It emulsifies fat when you're digesting it. So if this isn't working very well, you won't feel very good if you eat something fatty. It might make you feel a little nauseous, or your stools might be a little runny, especially if you eat something fatty. And then, as you know, bile is super important for carrying toxins out of your body. And so if that's not flowing as well, it's almost like yelling exit in the movie theater and not opening the exit doors. The toxins are trying to leave, but they can't actually leave. And then the parasympathetic state, which is triggered by the vagus nerve, is super important for that whole motility wave, digestive wave. So if it's not moving through the small intestine, it can sit there too long, and it can contribute to things like SIBO or constipation or all these problems. So any indication, if you have gas or bloating or acid reflux, anything that's indicative of the digestive system is not really working, can really have a root cause of your vagus nerve not being able to switch gears into your parasympathetic state.
Yes. Yeah. And so many people are dealing with symptoms like this and don't realize there's simple things that they can do to stimulate their vagus nerve. So can you talk about what can trigger vagus nerve toxicity?
Yeah. So one of the other things that's going on, sometimes you can stimulate your vagus nerve, and there are lots of great tools for that. You can use essential oils. You want to show off your pretty pendant. You have a pendant that helps with that.
Yes, my Harmony pendant helps with that.
Anything that stimulates where the vagus nerve travels through your lungs. So when you're doing yoga, you're activating it. All of your organs of digestion, coffee enemas actually are activating the gallbladder, so they activate that. But one of the challenges, one of the reasons that it might not be firing as well is toxicity. So if you think about the vagus nerve, I'm just going to kind of show you. It starts at the back of the head. It winds around both sides of the neck, kind of right behind the earlobe, and then through almost every organ, like your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your liver, your pancreas, your gallbladder, your intestines. But what's interesting is if you think about where it is in the body, it's almost like a really busy intersection, because your mouth, you have all these toxins in your mouth, which you know so well. You were so smart to kind of address them, but it can be cavitations, it can be mercury amalgams, it could be just gum infections, root canals. They're all trying to drain, and their exit ramp is right here, which totally intersects with your vagus nerve. And so nerves have an incredibly high affinity for toxins. So if things are draining, and say your lymphatic vessels, which are kind of the carrier to move things out of your neck, are congested or just not flowing as well, the toxins can kind of get stuck there, get into the nerves, kind of compromise or congest the nerve, and suddenly the vagus nerve is toxic. A Tufts neuroresearcher called this vagus nerve hypothesis. And it's basically this idea that there's something kind of blocking the ability of your vagus nerve to signal your downstream organs.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, because it's interesting. I had a cavitation surgery right before Thanksgiving, which is a great idea. And so my cheek was like, I looked like a little hamster and had just fed. And so he had, to go in where I had an old wisdom tooth that had been, just the seed had been removed, but there was a hole that had remained, and infection was brewing there. And the dentist said, he opened it up and the infection was horrific, which was awesome to hear.
Yeah, right?
So we went in there, he's a biological dentist, amazing, Dr. Panapur in Beverly Hills. And he went in there and ozoned it out. But for years, that has been draining in my body and probably contributing to vagus nerve toxicity or vagus nerve toxicity. And stress, sympathetic dominance, overload on the body.
Don't even think about that. I mean, my daughter's 15. All of her friends are having their wisdom teeth pulled. It's just what you do, and you don't even question it. So if somebody is chronically ill and they've tried everything, that's a really good thing to look at. The other thing I forgot to mention, it's your vagus nerve that controls, it's called the anti-inflammatory reflex. It releases the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which tells your heart rate to kind of slow down and calms inflammation. So, you might see that root canals are correlated with heart disease. If you track this logic, you have a root canal, you have some toxicity, it's draining, it's kind of impacting your vagus nerve's ability to signal and release acetylcholine and tell the heart rate to slow down. So suddenly the root canal is causing, your heart to beat too fast, and ultimately it wears out and it leads to a heart attack. So the good thing, I'm going to jump to the chase a little bit. There are some essential oils that have been used throughout history to not only dull nerve pain, but to kind of kill toxins in the mouth. and that's clove and lime. And if you apply them right here, it gets into the skin really quickly because they're really, really small and fat soluble, and your cells are fat soluble and the blood-brain barrier needs small things. It can help to detoxify that congestion. So you're able to actually signal your body and turn things on. You're able to switch gears and stay in gear and heal and move forward. And it's so crazy to me that there are people that are spending so much time and energy and money just trying to get healthy again. And it's that one little minor tweak that can make a really big difference in their health.
Yeah, yeah. And so are there any other essential oils? You mentioned those. Are there any other ones that are helpful for, the vagus nerve?
The ones, if you start to really delve into the research, the ones that kind of come up time and again for really helping to be antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral are thyme, oregano, and clove. And then combining it with lime. It's interesting. So many people who use healing recipes, they talk about saving the peel of the lemon or the peel of the orange, because that's where all of the D-limonene is, this really valuable kind of it's a huge antioxidant, and it's great for detoxifying. But the oils, the essential oils, come from the peel of citrus fruits. And so when you combine any of those with lime, it just gives it that kind of added kick. In fact, my daughter does sports with a lot of boys. I drive carpool. My big trick is to bring a big bag of tangerines from Trader Joe's and give it to them because they're hungry and they're smelly, and they peel the tangerine, and then the whole car, because it releases the essential oils, the whole car smells like tangerine and not sweaty boys. But it's just a great way to illustrate how the oils are really in the citrus peel.
Yeah, it's where I use lime essential oil in my laundry.
Yes,
I use it. I love limes. I'm obsessed with limes.
I love limes too. Yeah. They're really good for you. It's not, it's funny how you kind of, like when you crave chocolate, it's because you need magnesium, or you might crave a hamburger when you need iron. I think our bodies actually naturally know what they need to put us in balance. And that's why certain smells might be more appealing at certain times. Frankincense is an interesting one. I either love it or it's really not of interest to me. I think you should, if you've never played with essential oils and you're just curious, just go to the supermarket and see what appeals to you. It's a really good way to just figure out what you might like and what you need.
Yeah, because what you're attracted to is what your body is needing right there. Same thing with food or supplements. If you're kind of grossed out by a supplement, or you're just like, I just can't eat this. I can't get it down. Listen to that.
Yes.
Your body will tell you.
Fatty acids. If you're not able to break down your fats, if your gallbladder is congested and viscous, fatty acids are going to be so unappealing, and you're going to take them. It's going to make you feel terrible, and you're just going to avoid it. And most of us don't, we just say, oh, that doesn't work for us. We never think I wonder why that doesn't work for us. I wonder if I could do something to make it work for me. So this is it's a different opportunity to try something and heal.
And can you talk about some of the other natural remedies that help to stimulate the vagus nerve? You talked about coffee enemas, which was interesting.
All of them are a little bit hard to get compliance for. I mean, you can use a tongue depressor and kind of gag yourself. You can splash your face with freezing cold water. You can do a coffee enema, which triggers the gallbladder, which is part of the vagus nerve and nervates the gallbladder. Yoga is really easy. Anything with yoga breathing, meditation is fantastic. Laughter is great. Mm-hmm. Terrifying yourself, bizarrely, triggers the same thing. I know. Well, it's interesting because the vagus nerve innervates your face. So like smiling, human interaction, there's all this research that people who have healthy relationships and interaction live longer. And I think part of that is because those healthy relationships, the laughter, the connection, they all activate the vagus nerve.
Interesting. And also I get gargling water also.
Yes, gargling.
The tongue depressor, the gag reflex, and then gargling.
Exactly.
Will help to activate it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and your necklace. There are lots of things that you can do. And one, actually, we should talk about heart rate variability. heart rate variability is interesting because people just assume it means that your heart rate's really strong. That's not really what it is. It's resilience. It's the idea that something can come along, kind of make your heart rate beat really fast so you can escape the danger, and then you're able to recover really quickly. Like when you're in resilience, little things don't bother you. Like everyone can relate to, you're driving in traffic and someone cuts you off. And one day that happens and it doesn't matter. You're not in a hurry. You're in a good mood. You think maybe they're in a rush and you forget about it. The next day, the exact same situation happens again and 4-letter words are falling out of your mouth. The only difference is your resilience, your ability to recover. You know, Viktor Frankl talks about between the stimulus and the response, there's a pause. We can't control what happens outside of us. We can't control how other people behave. We can't control the economy. We can't control what our president chooses to tweet. All of that is outside of our control. The only thing we have control over is how we choose to respond. And the more kind of grounded in the parasympathetic state, able to respond and recover quickly we are, the easier it is for us to recover. And that includes, you know, immune stress is everything. Like you'll just lead a healthier life if you have more resilience, more heart rate variability, more time in the parasympathetic state. It just kind of sets you up for success.
Yeah, I've discovered a really interesting device. It's called a modeus at modeushealth.com. And they actually sell it as something to help you lose weight, which I signed up right away. But it's a nerve stimulator. But it's a vagus nerve stimulator that you wear essentially, and they call it a neurostimulator. But we know what's happening here. But you wear it's a little headband. You wear it for a day, and people lose weight. Like I know my friend Nikki Grotrix lost weight wearing this because it's stimulating your vagus nerve and relaxing you, because you can't lose weight when you're in sympathetic dominance and you're releasing cortisol all the time and your blood sugar's yo-yoing all the time because of your stress response, and you're not sleeping well because of it. You're not going to lose weight in that state. So stimulating the vagus nerve is important for that respect also.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's funny. My friend Christine Schaffner and I are always talking about everyone has these ideas, and she's like, well, do they look healthy? And if they don't look healthy, do you really want to follow what they're doing?
Yeah, you know? Exactly. Because we all know those scary, unhealthy looking people that are, you know, recommending people do certain things. Like, for instance, Andrew Cutler. To me, very unhealthy looking person that is, you know, people were following like his detox protocol, but he looked very, very sick to me, you know?
Yeah. Well, no, like we were admiring Dan Papa and Warren Phillips, that they both look so healthy, and they do kind of a 5-day keto diet. And we were like, okay, look, and she went to a conference and she said, everyone there looked so incredibly healthy.
Yes.
You know, of course I'm going to try it. Clearly it's working.
Yeah. No, they look amazing, because I know them personally. I went to their conference last week. It was a few weeks ago in Newport Beach.
Yeah, that was what she talked about.
Yeah, they look unbelievable. They look super healthy. Yeah. And so I agree with you. You want to be doing people that look healthy and follow their advice.
Yeah. Well, no, and you're totally right, because what's often happening with weight, it's either two things. It's that your adrenals are pumping out all of that cortisol, and so you're never able to drop into the healing state. And then also liver detoxification, which is something that you talk about. You know, I love Chris Shade talks about the directionality of toxins, that, you know, the lymph releases them, they go through the blood, they travel into the liver, then into the gallbladder, then into the intestines, then into the toilet. But what happens is if your liver or your gallbladder are congested, then they backflow into the blood. The blood doesn't want toxins in the system, so they kind of keep them safe in fat. And until your liver and your gallbladder are actually working, you know, you're not going to let go of that weight. So enter vagus nerve stimulation. All of a sudden you're helping your liver and your gallbladder work better because you're switching it into that right gear. And of course the blood's like, okay, great, now we can let go of all this fat, and it just kind of naturally comes off. It's not magic. It's just that you're lining up so that your system works properly.
Yeah, and that's a very eloquent way to explain that, because I think a lot of people don't realize that they know they need to detox. They know they have toxins in them, whether that's by testing or they just know from their lifestyle habits in the past that they have high metal levels and toxins. And but it's not enough just to detox and take detox supplements to go and like, hey, let's go in and rip out these heavy metals. You've got to prime your body and get it working properly in order to release them. And part of that is relaxing and getting into your
Yes.
parasympathetic.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And I love what you're doing with the metal testing because most people don't even realize, they grew up in a home with lead paint. It didn't occur to them that they've got lead or their mother had amalgams. And when they were, when their mom was pregnant, it kind of came through to them. Someone was telling me that a toxin is just anything that you can't process. Like rat poison is actually vitamin D because they can't process it. So that's why it's so hard to let your body eliminate the toxins. But I think it's really good. I love that you're helping people identify it because I don't think people, it doesn't occur to them that they have all these symptoms and metals are the root cause.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting. And I think also people don't realize how stressed they are. I think that
Yes.
people are living in an environment where they have tons of EMF bombarding them. They have metals and chemicals in the air, food, and water. The food is nutritionally deficient because they're stressed or not absorbing nutrients. So over time, they're becoming malnutrition. And then add to that emotional, financial stress, past emotional trauma. I mean, there's just a lot of different stressors acting on us that prevent us from getting into that parasympathetic mode where we need to be in to be healthy.
Yeah, and you're right. The 5G makes it so much harder. Like, people, it's funny, Seattle is, I think, a beta city for 5G. And I've just noticed I go to yoga every morning at 6:30 and the number of people complaining that they just don't feel right, it almost means you have to work that much harder. You really, if you kind of got by without making an effort to drop into the parasympathetic state your whole life, but now you live in a 5G city, you really need to work that much harder because it's almost like you're swimming upstream. Even if you do nothing, it's just more challenging. So it's important.
Yeah, it's amazing because we have 4G right now, most of the US, and 5G that's coming to help our cell phones have faster downloads and work faster is 40 times stronger than 4G. And it's just jackhammering our bodies.
Yeah, it basically turns off our mitochondria and causes all sorts of other problems. And as someone who personally lives in 5G, it actually, I've lived here for 16 years and I've had great cell service. My calls get dropped all the time now. It's not better for my Wi-Fi.
Oh, no.
And it's certainly not better for my body. Yeah.
Oh,
but that's okay. It just, it's bringing my attention to basically staying in the parasympathetic state more often. And the more tools and the combination of tools, like I'm going to try your pendant.
Yes, I'm going to send you one. I'm going to send you one.
I would love that. I would love that. And a combination of oils. It's kind of stresses are additive and cumulative. So the more you can do to attack them, be it from, working on eliminating your heavy metals, every stress that you have, if you just take one off your plate, it's like for those of us who are a little anal and like to make their to-do list. Every time you check the box and you've done something, it's one less thing to worry about. Every time you remove a potential stressor, be it poorly digested proteins or heavy metals or switching to organic foods so you're not getting all the pesticides and herbicides, every little thing adds up and matters.
Yeah, and so you have a book coming out, correct?
I do,
Can you talk
yes.
to us about that?
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's all about how to use essential oils for the brain, because the brain is almost like no man's land. It's kind of like, I think most of the time when people don't know what to do, we do nothing. So it's really hard to get remedies into the brain, because if the blood-brain barrier is intact, those remedies need to be super small and fat soluble. That's why omega-3 fatty acids are so great for the brain, because they can actually get in. They get in, and then they can get into the cell membranes, because cell membranes are also fat. And so oils are able to actually get in. And once they're in, they can do a lot of things. They can help to open the vasculature and the lymph in the neck. If you think about a highway, traffic actually has to move in order for you to get there. So you have to move the good things in, like the blood sugar and the oxygen, and move the bad things out, like the toxins. And unfortunately, what happens, especially in our neck, we've got our structure. So any kind of head injury can throw off structural alignment. We have our nerves, like our vagus nerve. We have our lymphatics. We have our vasculature, our veins. And so any congestion in one area can kind of bump into other areas and just impede the good things getting in and the bad things getting out. And oils are fantastic for that. Like Tatis Karazian adds pepper to all of his supplements because he finds that it enhances absorption between 2% and 400%. We found that we have a circulation blend that if you add black pepper, all of a sudden it's, like if you think about water going through a pipe and the pipe is coated with debris, it can only trickle through. But then if you clean out the pipe, all of a sudden you have a much bigger space to work with, and just helping people to realize there are lots of ways you can use oils, and some people will just, use lavender in your bath or before bed, and that's totally perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you can also, there are more advanced ways that you can be working with essential oils to help return your body to balance so that you can be in the parasympathetic state. Your liver and gallbladder can function better. Your child can focus better and be less anxious. There's a lot of potential to heal people in a really natural, kind of non-invasive way.
Yeah, and I recommend your oils to clients for, supporting detoxification. I mean, number one, you've got a parasympathetic essential oil, which is amazing. I love that. And I think that's key for, relaxing, getting in that detox state. And then you have a gallbladder one, essential oil, that's a blend of things. So a lot of times people, they know they should use them. They like the way that they smell. But they're usually sold in individial oils. Like
they make more money that way. If you buy all the raw ingredients, you're going to spend a lot more than if someone actually, it's like making your own bread. You can certainly do it. It's just more labor intensive than buying the finished product.
Exactly. And the layperson and myself included, I don't have the time to really research all this stuff. It's just not my thing at the moment. But I did spend some time looking into it, and I love that you have like symptom specific or solutions, essential oils that provide solutions. Like you have one for the liver, one for the gallbladder, you have one for the adrenals.
The adrenals, the lymph, the pancreas. Yeah, the way I slice the pie, I think a lot of people are very symptom specific. Like I have headaches. Well, headaches can be a number of things. Headaches could be your gallbladder. Headaches could be lymphatic, circulation. It can be all of these things. So I try to slice it by what organ can we support? And the challenge, if people have compromised digestion, they're taking a supplement or food as a remedy and it has to travel through the stomach, and maybe the acid isn't ideal. Maybe it sits too long in the intestines. Maybe the liver is really backlogged and doesn't process it right away. So it's a little bit of a gamble, Russian roulette. Is it going to actually get into your system? How long is it going to take? But we know that things that we put on our skin get into the blood in like 20 minutes. That's why hormonal creams or nicotine patches work. And we know that anything we smell gets into our system immediately. Our sense of smell was kind of our early protection system, for predator odor and fire. So that scent out of our five senses actually goes directly to the part of the brain that registers danger. And this is actually really interesting. There's a Nobel Prize researcher based in Seattle. Her name is Linda Buck, and she did all this research on predator odor and what parts of our sense of smell is the olfactory system, what parts of the olfactory system respond to predator odor. And she really isolated it down. And then she thought, I wonder if there's anything that blocks that out. And it's rose essential oil. So that whole idea of smelling the roses, it basically turns off your response to fear. It shifts you out of fear. So if you're somebody who has anxiety all the time, just smelling rose oil can really help to calm you down and keep you back into resilience.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, I have actually a carnitine cream that is rose scented. It has rose essential oil in it. So it's very calming.
Yeah, no, I imagine it's the best for grief, honestly. When I would have kind of those anxiety attacks, just applying rose over my heart, it was pretty immediate. I mean, it's funny. People, I think, forget when they're in pain, and then they get out of pain, they kind of forget. But when you're in that moment and it's so intense that you're not sure what will work and something works, it must work because it works so well.
That's awesome. Because I think there's a lot of people today suffering from anxiety or
Yes.
suffering from depression. And a lot of people listening to this podcast don't want to take medications, or they've taken them and they know they don't work. That's me. I
Yeah.
used to take
Well, you know what?
antidepressants.
It doesn't work for me either because I'm a slow methylator, and what happens is it stays too long in the liver, and so it doesn't actually get to my system. And I am more prone to anxiety than depression, but I will tell you the best thing I've learned. Our colleague Titus Chu taught me this. When you're having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, it's the right frontal part of your brain that's overreacting. And so in order to kind of calm that, you want to balance the hemispheres. So the olfactory nerve actually goes directly to the frontal lobe. And you can't actually, like alternate breathing in yoga, you don't actually smell out of both nostrils at the same time. So just covering your right nostril and smelling through your left nostril, it will then balance the left side of the brain with the right. And that feeling of anxiety and immediate panic will totally subside.
That's really interesting. That's just
It's amazing. So simple.
tool.
Well, and especially, I mean, my daughter, she gets anxious about homework. It's mostly just getting started. She gets super overwhelmed. I don't know this. I can't do this. And then once she gets started, it's kind of fine. It's almost like pushing, the car downhill, and then it just rolls. But we do that almost every day. We're just calming her down by smelling something through the left nostril. And I can tell you, hand to God, it works immediately.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Jodi, thanks for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge about the vagus nerve and essential oils. I love your essential oils, and I totally recommend them. I think they're so high quality, and I love that you put them in symptom-specific blends to just take the guesswork out of essential oils. People can just choose which ones that they need, and they don't have to think about it. You've done all that research. You have another book too about essential oils. So I think you're so smart. You're such a wealth of information. And so thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for sharing the vagus nerve.
Yes. And everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the Myers Detox podcast, where we talk about everything related to detoxification. And, I can't stress enough, you have to be in a parasympathetic state to detox. So you've got to get the stress out. So Jodi, gave us some great tips to do just that. So thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next week.